My name is Nina Griffin. I am a traditional astrologer. I believe that the best way to learn astrology, or anything else, is to learn from past mistakes. Ideally, those of others. To do that, we can find past predictions that were wrong, and then analyze them to do better next time. With Horary astrology, we have a rich historical trove of incorrect predictions from which we can learn. This is an historical Horary that was wrong, as explained by me, Nina Griffin. We start with Galeazzo Maria Sforza, the scion of one of Italy's most noble families and the 5th Duke of Milan. Galeazzo Sforza had a pretty serious rivalry with Ferrante, the King of Naples, who, as we will see, was quite a character, with many people wishing for his death, including Sforza. Sforza wanted to take certain cities that at the moment were under the control of Naples' allies. In 1475, the King of Naples fell ill with what was likely malaria, and Galeazzo Sforza received information from his sister, who was married to the King of Naples' son, that the condition was very serious. The relationship between the two kingdoms was strained, and Galeazzo Sforza had few reliable sources in Naples. So he did what any self-respecting Renaissance nobleman would do, and wrote to one of his astrologers, one Giovanni Nanni da Viterbo. He asked, "Will Ferrante die, or will he escape his illness?" Now the King of Naples, also known as Ferrante, was known for his cruelty and fondness for keeping the mummified bodies of his enemies in his castle for show-and-tell sessions. The astrologer da Viterbo concluded that while the king was alive, he would succumb to his illness eventually. This is a modern computerized version of the Horary chart that the astrologer cast to answer Sforza's question. The 7th house is for the Sforza's rival, Ferrante of Naples. We will examine this house to determine the king's condition and determine whether we see any connections to the 8th house of death. First, we can see the mildly helpful north node right on the 7th house cusp. This is one indication that the king will survive, albeit it's a minor testimony. Next, we look at any planets in the 7th house. We see the moon at 23 Libra. The moon is void, of course, because she is not an orb of any applying aspect to another planet. This is one suggestion that not much will happen, and thus Sforza's ambitions would come to nothing. Remember, this is not only a question about Ferrante's illness, but also Sforza's own hopes for political advantage. The astrologer would have looked at the ruler of the 7th house, Venus. She is in Scorpio, the sign of her detriment, which testifies to Ferrante's current poor condition. However, she is about to leave Scorpio and therefore improve her situation considerably. She is also in the 8th house of death, but will soon enter the 9th house as well, another testimony that Ferrante will likely escape. Finally, we note that Venus makes no immediate aspect to Mars, ruler of the 8th house of death, again suggesting that Ferrante will escape death after all. And then, to be thorough, we examine Venus's proximity to the Sun. A planet that is combust of the Sun is a traditional indication of death. In this chart, Venus is moving slowly, and though she is gradually nearing the Sun, her progress is so slow that we cannot conclude death is near. The other valid way that an astrologer can analyze this chart is to treat it as, is the news true? When we analyze the chart this way, we can see that the news of Ferrante's impending death was in fact a false alarm. For this type of analysis, we look at Mercury and the Moon, both of which represent news. The ideal situation, to show that the news is true, is to have them both unafflicted, angular, in fixed signs, and with some essential dignity. Here, the moon is in Libra, without essential dignity, though she is angular, and Libra is, in this case, an unreliable cardinal sign, not a fixed sign. Mercury is very afflicted. He is cadent, combust, in a mutable sign, and in its detriment in Sagittarius. So the news is incorrect and subject to change. Finally, I'd like to call your attention to Mars, the planet ruling Galeazzo Sforza himself. He is in the 12th turned house, suggesting his hidden enmity toward Ferrante. Mars is also feral, meaning it makes no aspects to any other planet in the chart. This condition is also known as wildness, or we can think of it as unruliness, and Galeazzo Sforza was widely considered reckless in his personal as well as his political life, and in general was totally ungovernable by anyone. In this horary, the poor condition of Mars indicates that Ferrante would not die, and that Galeazzo's wishes would be unfulfilled. Ferrante lived another 19 years, at the end of which he had himself mummified, of course. Galeazzo Sforza, on the other hand, was assassinated 1 year after he asked the horary. If you enjoyed this horary, you may wish to subscribe to my channel, and perhaps engage in some self-reflection. See you next time.